to the Unscripted Video Game Podcast. Patrick.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Dan.
Today we're talking about difficulty. Who wants to start us off?
Difficulty in games is kind of an interesting thing, in that you don't really know what level to set it at. A lot of people say that it should be easy and accessible for everybody to have, but there's been a lot of backlash recently against iOS games and stuff like that, where you're just blowing through thing after thing after thing. You don't feel like you're getting any time or your money's worth out of it. So we kind of have started getting attraction, or at least I have, to Dark Souls or XCOM or a new game called The Banner Saga. And these games give you a lot more bang for your buck in some cases. I don't know, Patrick, do you want to say anything?
Dark Souls and I are not friends, really. I kind of given up on that game.
Well, what's your experience with Dark Souls? Actually tell us how your first...
Okay. So I started, it was one of the first games I got for my PS3 because I was one of the really late people. I got my PS3 really late, like a month before they announced the PS4. And it was one of the first games I got. So I got home and I put it in and I was playing it and I'm like, I can't get past the first level. I can't get past the tutorial. So after I eventually got through that, it's for those that are not familiar with Dark Souls, it's a very unique game. It kind of throws you in there. It kind of gives you hints okay, so you have to do this, but beyond that, it doesn't really tell you anything. It doesn't tell you to go down the staircase, get to the next boss, and the bosses are extremely difficult for pretty much all of them. And so I really kind of got stuck on the difficulty. I couldn't beat it, so I eventually gave up on the game.
Interestingly enough, when I was playing the tutorial, I kind of blew through it. I never really died. Now, I played the tutorial before at a friend's house, so I kind of knew what to expect and what was going to happen, but I still didn't have a really good grasp of the controls. I wasted time fighting these Zambambis that were confronting me, and eventually I just kind of got the parry system down. When I finally reached the boss, I was able to dodge and avoid his attacks and do really, really well against him. You played Dark Souls too, right?
Yeah, I have. And listen, any game where I die 10 to 15 times in the tutorial is a game that's going to utterly frustrate me to the utmost degree, which is exactly what happened. I died, I think, on the second guy that they presented to YouTube, and it was just one of the most aggravating games I've really ever played. And that's also what happened with XCOM. I was playing the tutorial, and of course in that tutorial, you do have to die to pass.
It's scripted, it's pretty jarring, actually.
But I didn't know that.
3 of your 4 people die, have fun.
I didn't know that, so I exited it and retried it until somebody told me that you're supposed to die. But then when I played XCOM, at least, I made the dumb mistake of naming the characters after some of my friends. And so I would go through every level playing so meticulously, because if you know, my friend Chad died.
Were you on Iron Man?
What?
Were you on Iron Man, or were you just doing normal?
Normal.
Oh, so you're reloading all over the place, aren't you?
Yeah. So when my friend Chad would die, I almost had to cry and hold a funeral for him. I called him in real life to make sure he was okay. That's how emotionally attached I got. That's just me and XCOM.
And difficulty does have that effect, actually, in that it makes you really emotionally invested in what's happening. If you know that you're going to walk into a room and just kick ass and take names, that's going to happen. And you've got this. You're in control. In Call of Duty, you can make those headshots. Even on Veteran, you can probably just pop out of cover, knock down 2 or 3 guys, go back in. You got this. You got enough grenades. You got enough guns. You got enough everything. But then you play a game like Risk of Rain. It's a little-known title. Or maybe it's actually well known. I don't know, you internet. Hi. But pretty much you're in the game and you're like, okay, I'm going to go in this and I'm going to try to do my best. But I'm getting the impression that things are going to go south really, really fast.
Oh,
FTL is another good example.
I haven't played it, really want to.
It's a really, really good game in that you start and you're like, this is going to be it. But there will come a moment in the game where you're like, I can feel difficulty breathing down my neck. When your ship is 4 HP and you're in an asteroid belt and your enemy has invincible shields and all you can do is just plink away at them and then explode from flying space rocks. Which is one of the less honorable ways to die, just kind of above asphyxiation, which happens a lot too.
No, Risk of Rain is a very unique game that I really hadn't seen much like it before. For those who are unfamiliar with the game.
It's called roguelike, right?
Yeah, it's roguelike.
We should explain what roguelikes are?
If you want to.
You want to get this magic? Or?
Do you want to get the literal definition of roguelike?
Let's get a little definition up here first. So, a roguelike is basically something that's randomly generated. And this makes the game a lot harder because you can't just fuss out with patterns. You can't just know what's going to happen. In Dark Souls, it's hard. But when you die and you go back, at least you know what's going to happen. You know that Dark Knight's just going to kick you off the edge of a building and, okay, climb back over there, grab your dead body, get your items back, and then fight him. But with a roguelike, you don't have that kind of opportunity. You're dead, the world is recreated around you. But that gives it a really great amount of replay value and difficulty if you're into that.
It does. Roguelike, yeah, Risk of Rain dangles the randomly generated worlds and the permadeath in front of you right from the get-go. Right when you purchase the game, it's like, oh, by the way, your worlds are never the same, and you die and you die. Forget. That's the end of your playthrough.
Actually, I think the worlds are the same.
They're vaguely the same. It's like a general layout, but like locations of stuff and just
it's the items that are really the issue.
Yeah, that and the location of the teleporter that you need to find is always in a different place, and it's never in the same order. You don't always go to this world then the next one. It could be in any random order. Usually, I think like the starting world is always the same, but beyond that, and the bosses are randomized too. But for those that are unfamiliar with Risk of Rain, I can't make this point, but then we got sidetracked. It is a game where you set your starting difficulty as like very easy, medium, hard, and like impossible. I played a normal to start off with because I wanted to just get the full experience from it. And it starts you on normal difficulty, and you'll notice at the very beginning of the game, there's a bar in the top right corner. It slowly goes up, and as it reaches certain like heights, the difficulty gets harder. It is a ever-changing game where if you stand still for too long, the difficulty is going to catch up to you. And it's always adapting. The enemies get harder, the bosses get harder, and the spawn rates are just off the chart.
Actually, that's another thing about roguelikes and difficult games too, is that the difficulty usually does have this kind of catching up with you. Like, when you think you're safe, or when you think you're trying to get, like, equipment or items to better be prepared for the next part, it rushes up on you with, like, a time mechanic. Really old game. I think it was Gauntlet? If you could look that up, actually.
1985 Gauntlet.
1995 video game.
85.
Wizard needs food badly.
Wizard, yeah.
Yep. So, the idea is that there's a mechanic that keeps you from just staying there and getting items and just being as powerful as you possibly be, maximizing your character like you do in an RPG. Instead, you have a thing like a food meter in Gauntlet, or an FTL, the rebel fleet that's going to just show up and blow the crap out of you no matter what you do. Or in Risk of Rain, which is a weird difficulty meter that causes reality to cave in on itself and try to smash you with as many monsters as possible. Which actually makes the end game really, really cool and really messy, I guess.
Like, if your computer, like, you look at the game, it's like, okay, it should be that hard to run. It's a very low graphic game. But if your computer isn't really prepared for it, you get to the end game, and there's so much up on the screen, your frame rate drops.
But enough about Risk of Rain and all that stuff. How has difficulty changed, do you think, over time? Like, how do we do difficulty in this age different than we used to? Now, we're actually fairly young. We don't really have the experience of being really deep in the NES era. At least I didn't. When I was born, my parents were like, here's your PC, and that is it. And at the beginning of the years, the PC was like, it wasn't the hot place to be for games quite yet. I had good titles, but well, not quite there.
Well, for me, now this is going to make me sound really cool, but at home I have 16 consoles. PC gaming, I know nothing about. I'll be totally honest. I mean, I have a Steam account, and I have Team Fortress 2, and that's it. But other than that, PC gaming, when I was younger, I might have played Zoo Tycoon, a couple of the Tycoon kind of games, just because, for car rides, I needed something to do. But when it comes to console gaming, from back in the old days, since I have an Atari, NES, SNES, I will say the games back then were a lot, I wouldn't say harder, but the punishment for losing was a lot more strict. Like, if you died, 90% of the games, I'd say, you'd go right back to the beginning and you
So, before this is actually going to start, there'll be a short clip from another episode that we may or may not have messed up on because Danette's camera died. So, Dan will also be in this video for 2 minutes. But, as we've said before, this podcast is going to be on difficulty.
Yes.
And Aaron, I believe, has very strong opinions about difficulty. Very good points.
Well, I always have strong opinions, it seems.
Aaron's the strong opinion guy.
Dark Souls, the end. Goodbye.
Okay, so Dark Souls 2. I don't really know how to put this because there's ways to talk to a Dark Souls audience and ways to talk to a Dark Souls audience. What it's become infamous for is being a crushingly, brutally difficult game. And having played it, I would like to counter that by saying it's not crushingly brutal in its difficulty. It's a very difficult game, but maybe it's what we need.
Do we really need to die 40 times and feel bad about ourselves before
Aaron,
throwing our game systems out the window?
Are you
It
going
builds character.
zen on us right now?
Okay, look. I'm gonna tell you guys a secret about me. Every time I die in Dark Souls 2, I feel utter joy.
What?
No, leaving.
And it's because I'm like this is awesome. I know why I died. I can see why I died. I have an idea of how I can fight this thing and not die next time. All of my deaths build a hill on which I will stand upon at which to smite the boss. That is how it works.
I guess.
Smite, good game.
A lovely metaphor.
Well, you know, if
Are
you
we
want
going
to
to do this?
if you want to beat any kind of boss in Dark Souls, either you're a sorcerer and I hate you, or you can't touch me because I'm it's just
Long range.
Lightning bolt.
No,
Lightning
it
bolt.
literally is just lightning bolt forever. I got beaten in PvP that way.
Oh,
I was
man.
like, bow, and the guy's like, hi, lightning.
Hi there.
And after my body stopped twitching and I faded away, I was like, gee, that felt interesting.
That sounds interesting. Like, oh, that's.
I now realize I fail.
I fail at life because I can't play
But
Dark Souls.
it makes the victories, I guess, all the sweeter would be the cliche term for
I'll
me
give
to
you that.
use.
Yeah.
Like when you finally kill like an enemy in PvP and you just bathe in their ashes. 'Cause
Yeah.
You bathe in their ashes.
in their ashes, you're just like, wow, that was awesome. Or when 3 guys are chasing you, this lone, sad, scared invader in their world, in PvP, and they pursue you into an area that you know from personal experience is full of monsters, and they just
yeah.
get ganked by the mobs in there. Or when finally, after dying against these 3 bosses that were against you, you summon 2 friends and then go completely even with them. It's just amazing. It's just an amazing feeling.
I guess I can see what you're talking about in the form of like it's something we need because you really can just breeze through a game these days. And
Call of Duty on normal mode is
Left trigger.
it's
right trigger.
it's a cakewalk.
Left trigger, right trigger.
It's
Grenade.
a cakewalk.
Grenade.
Left trigger, right trigger.
Grenade.
Grenade.
But difficulty's more than dying. Difficulty's more than just
Yeah.
oh, my guy died. Because I can tell you on Call of Duty veteran mode, you'll die plenty of times.
There's like that Mile High mission in like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 where it's like if you play it on the highest difficulty, it's just no.
But the
You're
problem-
not moving.
The problem is that when I get shot, when I make a mistake, I have no idea what I did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be like, yeah, I get it. I'll give you that one. In Dark Souls 2, when a hammer just comes out of my skull, I saw it telegraphed the entire time. I knew it was coming. I just ran out of stamina.
When you run in circles because you just see this shadow getting smaller and smaller as it heads towards you.
I could use energy to walk that way, but I'm just gonna run in a circle. I mean,
And a lot of people complain, but Dark Souls is fair. There's bloodstains everywhere of people who have gone through the level like you and have died
Exactly.
horribly just like you will.
Because it's not like you're the only one that's having a struggle.
Oh.
Everyone else is.
I mean, some people are doing worse than you. Once I actually touched a bloodstain, I saw this guy just like look around for a bit, kind of have a little think to himself, and just jump off a cliff. And I was like, okay, I guess.
I mean, that's one
I
alternative.
don't want to live in this planet anymore.
What we
I
learned
cannot
today.
blame you.
What we learned today is either 2 things. 1, down that way is death. I get that. That made sense. Pretty long drop. Or 2, do not look at Dark Souls for too long, or else you will just commit suicide in a fit of fear, I suppose.
But then here's the thing about difficulty with Dark Souls. And it's kind of hard to explain because even though it's crushingly difficult, there's a difference between
It's well
a
measured.
relatively good difficulty curve
Yeah.
and then just, when you're in veteran mode or something like that, you're just happily walking around a straight narrow path and suddenly you just hit a wall because the difficulty curve doesn't curve, it just goes straight
The
up.
difficulty line
and
of wall.
and you just have to try and find a way to climb up it as best as
The
you can.
concept of difficulty is not higher health, more damage for enemies. As a part of it. Having enemies be tougher than you is a part of high difficulty, but you can't just keep turning up their health and damage. That's not how it really fits into gameplay.
Well, a number of developers beg to differ.
Oh, yeah, developers do bit different.
And you can do that in Borderlands too. They have the Digistruct Peak thing, where you can constantly go in and be like, okay, I'm going to actually over level the enemies. The enemies are going to be higher than the max level cap, which is like 72.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like, for people that really are either A, good at the game, or really love a challenge, that's good, and you can get better loot because of it. But, I mean, like, Borderlands is a game that it's fun because you can play the game, like, 3 times, or the same exact story 3 times, but the first time it's just a normal standard difficulty. The next time, it's even harder difficulty with higher level enemies, and more enemies. The next one, it's even harder. It's, like... Standard Vault Hunter mode and Ultimate Vault Hunter. So the game gets harder as you go along. You've got the DLCs too, which is a cool sort of thing. But Digistruct Peak is like, if you've beaten Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, you can over level enemies and just go try to fight them, and you can have fun with that. I mean,
What is it called? Digistruct Peak? Or?
Yeah, Digistruct Peak. The raid on Digistruct Peak, I believe, is the name of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like one of their like little like $5 DLCs. And it also increases the level cap.
Dark Souls takes increasing difficulty in a different way. You mentioned that that a lot of developers crank enemy damage. Like, again, Call of Duty Veteran mode.
Yeah.
You go from somehow soaking just piles of bullets. Like, if I was shot in real life in the arm, I'd be like, no, I'm good. You won.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
It appears that I have been shot many times in the torso. Let me hide behind this rock, and they will be removed from my body.
What they don't
I
tell
would
you is
perfectly
what they don't
healed.
tell you is Captain Price is like a mutant super soldier. Just bullets are plinking out of these gaping flesh wounds and sealing up. And the armor is just weaving itself back together over it. But in Dark Souls, instead of they bump up on New Game Plus because you're like, how are they gonna make it harder? They do.
Oh.
They bump up the enemy health a little bit. They bump up the damage a little bit, kind of tweak to your level, and then they reshuffle all the enemy placements and all the enemy types at every single level.
That's good because I mean, like since you're dying so much, you know the layout of the map,
And
Yeah.
then...
so you know where all the enemies spawn. So
Yeah.
by doing that, you're completely cut off guard. It's like playing the game over again.
It's playing the game over again. And seeing some of the enemies in different circumstances. Some of these poison moths are perched on towers we didn't even see them before. And before you even notice them, you're just like,
Get away from me.
And it, like, bosses are reshuffled. It's really cool. It's really cool. Now, how have we seen games that are too easy? Can you name a game that you just breeze through without any problems?
Interactive cinematography games.
They're not difficult, but they're not difficult for a reason.
It's about plot.
It's
I
about
guess it
plot
is.
and making you question yourself.
Like, I can... David Cage aside...
What was that game?
What game?
It was like, oh boy.
The Walking Dead? Wolf Among Us?
No. Besides interactive cinematography, because we kind of discussed it was about plot.
I don't know.
Bioshock 2. I thought the game was too easy.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. Easy game.
I really enjoyed the game, but
It was
you're
a good
right.
game.
I never really had a problem.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't have a problem with
I
it.
died the most on the first Big Sister. And then for the
Yeah,
rest
then
of the
you
game,
learn how to
I
handle it.
slowly lost my deaths.
Yeah.
Huh.
It was a really pretty... Did it have a difficulty setting?
It did. It was easy, medium, hard.
Alright, I think I probably...
And they
played
do the
medium
whole
first.
just cranking damage and lowering your resistance. To
yeah.
But
damage.
overall, the
Yeah.
game was fairly easy. It was pretty easy to grasp. Like, once you got past the main challenge, which is the Big Sisters, you're
The
like...
second Big
oh,
Sister you fight, you're already all set. And the third Big Sister you fight is almost nothing.
Yeah,
I
it's-
beat her to death with a drill. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let me just say, though, the big sister weakness, those, like, rocket arrows, those are her big weakness.
Or traps. Or just trapping the room.
Yeah,
Every single time she hops from point A to point B, she would just get injured by something.
I always like fighting in the water area, like water. It's freaking underwater, but like areas where there's like puzzle water. It's like you zap them, she's in puzzle.
Zap
water,
him,
she's
shoot her in the head. She
Yeah.
gets back up, zap her, shoot her in the head.
like, yeah,
That's
it's
how
like
it goes.
it's just
It's not
you
as bad
learn.
as it sounds, Erica.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward, especially if the game gives you those elements. Like, oh, convenient. There's a boss battle and there's a giant puddle of water. Whatever will the player do? I don't know. Shotgun.
What I like about
Shotgun.
Bioshock though is like at least it lets you like
Yeah.
choose where to engage her.
Yeah,
it,
that's
it would
true.
it would scream. You'd be like, time to go to the panic.
Yeah, it
room.
gives you
Let's
like
take her out there."
15, 20 seconds. Be like, okay, I need
Trap,
to
trap, trap,
go
trap, trap.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can I just say, though,
rivet
that
traps?
makes no sense how the big sister works. Like, I can understand if you harvest all the little sisters, that should be ticked off and should come for you. If you save them all, she still comes for you.
She is preserving the flow of Adam. And by removing the little sisters, you reduce a source of Adam.
Yeah.
Maybe she needs to get off her...
She's having a bit of a moment. Just give her space and shoot her repeatedly.
I mean, she has saw blades.
I found a crossbow.
The rivet gun was really good.
Let's see. Then there was this, like, other...
Just the noise it made when it shot was
Easy.
really satisfying. That
It was another easy game.
It was.
Oh, boy. And once again, I had it, and I lost it.
Matthew losing his stuff.
I am. I'm losing my mind slowly.
I mean,
Are we all?
like Matthew was talking about the interactive cinematography games. They're for the people that haven't watched that video, or if it hasn't come out yet. It's like games like Telltale's Walking Dead game, the good one. The I feel like I have to say that every time. The Wolf Among Us, and they're going to make one Borderlands. See which things
What was that one? Wasn't it like Heavy Rain?
Heavy Rain.
Wasn't that
That's
Heavy Rain?
yeah. It's
cinematography?
Quantic Dream.
Yeah.
But let's let Aaron not get on a David Cage rant.
Oh, no.
I got it all out of my system. Actually. We're good.
But those games are like it's like point and click basically. It's not meant to be difficult. It's meant to have a really great plot, and it's meant to make the player question themselves. Like, it's like, do I really want to rip this guy's arm off?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Danette, and I ripped Kendall's arm
I really
off,
should
and
have
I
brought
was
up David
happy
Cage's
about it.
crush on Ellen Page in the last one, shouldn't
Everyone
I?
has a crush on Ellen Page.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter now.
And Aaron displaying his feelings of distress.
Okay.
Well, getting back to difficulty.
Yeah, difficulty.
Yeah. All right. I think one of the big topics, heavily debated topics in the difficulty world is real and fake difficulty.
Yeah.
Everybody's got something to say about that.
Sledge driving the hard questions. Yeah.
Yep. I was actually doing a little bit of research last night on that, and I came across an interesting article where somebody
You do research?
Apparently, it's crazy, right? But somebody was talking about how all of the different aspects of fake difficulty could even be considered real difficulty if you take it. There was one bad physics or poor execution things.
Hit boxes that you can't really tell where they
and
are.
Call of Duty.
Enemy attacks
It was
with
lag.
enemy attacks that have no tells.
Yeah.
You know.
Let me just shoot you
and I think,
20 times.
and the guy was like, that's kind of just part of the game. You should expect that when you play the game, and it's not really like a sort of like global thing. It's just for the game. It's difficult for that game, and it's gonna suck. But is that fake difficulty as could be applied to the whole world of gaming?
But now there comes a question: how hard is too hard?
That's good.
That's good.
Let's not talk about those games like I Want to Be the Guy, where it's just supposed to be unfairly difficult.
Yeah.
The
Like
Impossible Game.
I can't really think of a game where if you choose a setting, it'd be the most difficult thing. But like, I don't know, take Bioshock Infinite on 1999 mode.
Okay, here's my thought on that matter. It's a matter of weighing the frustration of the player.
Yeah.
If the player dies in a level and they can form a coherent sentence afterwards, their frustration level is within acceptable boundaries.
See, that was me in Dark Souls. I died in Dark Souls. I'm like,
You just make noises that are like, if you're a particularly frustrated gamer, I did this a lot in veteran mode in Call of Duty or in some of the higher difficulties of Bioshock Infinite, which by the way also are, even 1999 mode sounds cool, but it is kind of lame.
it's emphasized mostly on stealth, especially with Burial at Sea. It's emphasized more like you're supposed to be stealthy with it. You're not supposed to kill anybody. That's their objective. You're not supposed to kill anybody.
Because that's how System Shock was back in the day. If any of you young whippersnappers know what System Shock is.
I know what System Shock 2 is.
Yeah.
And the thing about System Shock 2 is you don't know if you're putting all your points into the right skills until it's too late.
Now, is that fair?
Because
I feel like
enemies
the
are
player
different.
should have the option to fail. But then again, when you're invested that many hours and you realize that you've totally pursued a wrong dead end,
that's a bit unfair.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and it's gonna be a learning experience. Yeah. Either way, like I think I kind of ran into that when I played an indie game, Legend of Grimrock. Any of you guys played that one?
Good game.
That was a dungeon crawler.
It's really fun.
Ooh,
Check it out.
roguelike kind of?
Roguelike, yeah.
Roguelike,
Roguelike
okay.
with graphics.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
was
check it out. It's
cool.
really fun. It's on
Really
Steam.
fun.
It's on Steam.
But I felt like I kind of went with one of those setups that was sort of pushed by the game, but not entirely optimal.
Yeah.
And I get to about the 5th or 6th floor, and I just feel like I'm useless and I'm scared.
I'm scared.
And I was
Mommy,
like,
hold me.
I'm sunk like 10 or 15 hours into the game already because I suck at it. And I'm
not
like,
an easy game.
not an easy game, no. And I get to that point and I'm like, ugh, do I want to try again or do I want to just give up? And being my gaming ADD self, yeah, I haven't touched that game in a while.
After the point of that total anguish of actually will eventually come this just like I gotta do other things. This is killing me. This is killing me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Grimrock was not an easy game. I did not beat it. I mean, Sledge and I got it at the same time. It was on sale on Steam or something.
No, it was a Humble Indie bundle.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was in the
Loved
Humble
that thing.
bundle. Really fun stuff. Check it out. I might put a link in the description or something. And it would just be us on a Skype call, and all of a sudden I would just like yell and then just get silent. Like, you died, didn't you?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like it would be like you turn a hallway, there's like a line of enemies just waiting for you, and it's like most of the hallways in that game are like
Yeah,
one
they're
block
really narrow.
hallways.
Or you
really
get to one of
narrow
those 2x2 rooms and you get cornered by
Yeah,
two of those skeleton
because
knights or
you
something.
have
and
4
you're, like,
people cannot occupy
dead.
the same space at a time. It's like if you were playing D&D, like if you're looking at a top-down board, it's like D&D. Or
Yeah.
if you have blocks.
We killed a guy that way once, didn't we?
Did what?
We just pinned a guy like in a huddle around us and we just murdered him.
Yeah. I mean, that's
It was great.
a good strategy.
Yeah.
It is a good strategy, but the game really plays on that. It gets really, it makes me really angry, and it's a really great difficulty strategy. It's like that you have to make sure that all of your characters can stand by themselves in the event that this happens.
Yeah. Just want to talk about their difficulty settings. The true roguelike setting at the like the max difficulty, they don't give you a map. They kind of require you to go back to old school ways of sitting there with a piece of graph paper and every square you're gonna like put it in and you can take little notes on it. Like I love how they added the notes section in the map where you could just comment on any space.
Yeah,
But
it's like playing
and I
a
think
tabletop
that's totally
game.
cool. I think it's fantastic.
It is a neat little thing. So difficulty can really build into gameplay.
Yeah.
People shouldn't. It's not like the gameplay equals difficulty. It should be more like maybe the difficulty should equal gameplay.
Well,
It can.
in regards to that, Papers, Please.
Fun game too.
Right, it's fun, but here's the thing: the difficulty only comes up if you can't pay attention to detail, and if you can't like point out flaws.
And the difficulty goes in the plot. Your guy's just desperately stamping
Yeah, yeah.
papers and trying not to get pink slips. So his family
Because
will
he's
die.
trying to get money
Yeah,
to feed.
yeah.
So
Or
I mean, like that's
treat illnesses.
a kind of fair difficulty curve. Of course, I always go like "Mrr," whenever I get a pink slip because I realize that the bitch wasn't from her proper city. But
Last of Us on a high difficulty mode feels really good, except it kind of breaks the setting because I like the idea of Joel getting shot and nearly freaking dying from just getting shot once.
Yeah.
Because
But I don't
that's
like how I put
real.
a shotgun into a guy and he just falls over and he's like, "Oh no, wait, I can get back up."
It should be
No,
balanced.
no.
If their bullets do that much damage to you, your bullets do that much damage
I would
to them.
appreciate a mode where bullets are just when a guy pulls a gun out, the player's just like, "Okay, let's get serious. Let's get serious here."
Like, that was one thing they advertised with the game was the fact that, like, enemies' reactions are very dependent on their weapons versus yours, but it really wasn't played on much. I mean, like, if you, like, pull a gun on somebody, they should freak out, be like,
There's actually one way that I did to mess with the AI in that game that I really enjoyed, and that was you have an empty gun on standby, and what I do is that I would take one of those proximity mines and I would throw it down, and I'd pull the empty gun and it'd be like, "Oh no, I'm out of ammo!" And then it would be like, "He's out of ammo, get him!" And so I would run out the door. I would run out the door, and they would
That's
chase after me
I'm
and
not
just
gonna
blow
use that.
up.
That's good. I thought about that.
And
props
now
to
I'm
you.
going to try that when I go home.
It's beautiful feeling because they get really like excited when they see you run out of ammo.
Yeah, 'cause they did a really good job developing the AI, and
It's not perfect, but there are little bits where the guys are smart.
yeah, where
Like,
it uses, like, realistic features.
They
Like,
feel they're a little bit intelligent.
this, like, when they're searching for you, like, they know you're there, but they don't know where you are, it gets a little, because, I mean, like, he's right there behind a wall.
Let me show
Where's
you.
he at? I could see his head peeking over there. Where's he at? I mean, it can be, but
I wish they had listen mode too, like you did. I think that'd be really
that
cool.
would be
That'd
crazy.
be really difficult.
The thing that
Well, you could tell when they're going to listen mode. Like,
Yeah,
they'd
that's
probably
what
they'd
you'd
probably
be
be
like.
like this or something, but
That's
that's how
what
you
you-
would do it.
yeah.
Although
But-
clickers, I guess, are the personification of listen mode.
Yeah, clickers are the
Clickers get
the
away
physical
from me.
embodiment of what listen mode
Man,
is.
that moment when they turn to you, and they're just like,
Okay,
you're just
It's
Eric,
like,
like,
your
oh,
heart
shit.
just like stops and it's like because a part of the difficulty that adds to The Last of Us is until you start upgrading your Shiv Master skill, the clicker gets you, you're screwed. Because
Yeah.
it's an instant kill. You can't counter it until you get like what is like.
it
200
grabs
mil?
Joel. Joel tries to push it a bit. It doesn't care. It throws his head to the side and just rips his neck out.
Yeah,
hooray!
it's brutal and it's an instant kill.
And
until
with
you
Shift
get
Master, if a bloater gets you, you get something special.
Special.
Oh,
Have you ever seen a bloater get you?
I don't think I
No.
have.
The bloater just runs up. Joel doesn't even try to punch it. You see him turn away to run, and it grabs him by the back of the head, and its fingers just go into his eyes.
Oh yes,
And
I
it-
have seen that.
And it
actually.
pulls him back, and then it catches its hand under his chin, like in his mouth, and just breaks his head open.
Oh, I remember
And
seeing
you
that now.
see that in detail.
Like you don't
Yeah,
see it
dude.
in detail.
Well-
It's like you know how Last of Us goes. It's like and then it cuts.
Oh.
So like
Your mind paints
it's the
picture.
fingers goes into his eyes, and you see it catch him by the mouth, and you literally see his cheek start to give way when he pulls, and then
and
just
then it
blacks
cuts,
out.
and your mind really paints a picture. Of Last
And you're
of Us.
like, and it's so sudden. 'cause
Nightmare fuel, everybody.
Well, 'cause
Last
that-
of Us is good with
that noise they
difficulty.
do when they cut it, that like that kind of like whenever you
Yeah.
die, that like they make this like little like humming noise that just cuts out really fast.
It's like your like stomach just sinks, and it's like, oh my.
It's
God.
like you're dead, bro.
It's like
You're done.
There's no coming back
of
from
course,
that.
of course, sometimes when that happens, I'm like, no, I shivved you.
Or Dark Souls, this thing where it's like really slow, guy falling over, fading in ash, and you die.
Oh yeah.
That's like an almost like taunting, like, ha, look at this, you
But-
died.
But they're fair. Whenever you...
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
There's a mod for that, actually, if you guys don't
There is
know.
a mod.
That's what Eric
That's
is referencing.
beautiful.
There's a
Oh,
mod that
really?
says, thanks, Obama, whatever.
Really?
Thanks, Obama.
So what happens is that, but if you succeed in Dark Souls, it isn't just like, alright. No, it's actually like, victory achieved. And it
Nice.
feels amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Victory.
I think the fact that difficulty, like Dark Souls and Last of Us, like you were talking about at the beginning, was the fact that if it's difficult enough that once you get over certain obstacles, there's like a wave of relief. Like if there's a room full of clickers and it's like
No.
you really need to get rid of most of them to pass through, if you kill like 4 of them and then get through, it's just like, I survived.
Can't you get through that
I'm
whole game
alive.
without having to kill
You
anything?
can, but it's really hard.
Actually, I once... remember that part in Chicago where those two guys are wandering through?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No.
There's this part in Chicago where these two guys are just they're just walking. You had just finished off all those guys who had ambushed your car, and these two guys are walking by. I literally just like hid in a corner, and they just walked right by me. And they have actually special dialogue if they get by you.
yeah, they put stuff in there that, like it's like really interesting to find out if you don't kill people. But
Joel
it's like,
doesn't have to be a complete monster.
no, but I mean, it kind of plays into his character. But
Joel's a bit of a monster.
Well, you know,
a bit of a monster.
Well, when your daughter gets shot,
yeah, I think it's just all downhill from there. I mean, but yeah,
Oh,
it's
that was
really
so
satisfying. It was really good.
Rough.
It was really good.
Oh man.
So let's hit one last topic, one that really ticks me off.
okay.
In a different genre of game that we don't really talk about much, racing games with rubber band AI.
Oh,
Sledge,
Rubber Band
we're
AI.
on top of it today.
Sledge. This is why we keep him around. I mean,
This is why we keep him.
Well, I mean, like,
Try my
He's
best.
going back to the basement
I don't
after
really
this.
play. I don't really play that much racing games. What are rubber band physics?
Rubber band physics. Let's take the classic game Mario Kart. I don't know if that's really in there very much, but I know there are a few games like that. But you get in there and you're like behind, and you catch up, and you're like, okay, then everybody's really competitive. You're like the AI, you're like neck and neck, and it's like, okay, cool. You get ahead, and they're like right up behind you for like a second later.
it's built into the game so that they have an easier time catching up to you.
And you have an easier time catching up to them. So
Yeah, it's like a drift stream in a lot of games that do that.
Okay.
Like you get behind a car and it's like it gives you this added
Well,
acceleration.
of course, you know when that happens, I just kind of like, oh, is that a wall next to you?
In other words, if the cars are in front of you, the drivers just like,
Yeah.
like lose their
they're
will.
like 4-year-olds behind the wheel.
Yeah.
But then you get ahead of them.
The second you get ahead of them,
it's like
They're
NASCAR
professionals.
drivers. Here we go.
Yeah, that's a thing that it's really stupid to have it in there, but it also kind of makes sense because if you get one lucky break, then again you should be rewarded for getting those lucky breaks. But it's
get the right item. in
What's a
Mario Kart.
lucky break and what's a manufactured lucky break?
Well, I mean, like power
What's
ups
like
in Mario Kart. Anyways.
what's the moment when you're like, yes, I got it. The moment in XCOM where you get like a 25% shot and kill an alien, and suddenly your whole strategy reshifts because you cleared this one guy from being flanked.
Versus
like
random number generator.
yeah, versus like
RNG.
well,
God dang it.
RNG could even be considered a lucky break too in a way.
Yeah.
But talking
I
about
can
like,
attest to that.
or the
No,
developer is
Patrick.
just like,
I mean,
don't worry, whenever you're injured, the enemy AI just kind of suddenly gets a little bit hesitant about finishing you off.
Like,
Compared to Last of Us, where as soon as you like trip, they're onto you.
If they see a weakness, whether you
They
make it up or
exploit.
not, they're going to go after you.
Yeah, that's why I like because it built in human nature and the fact that it's like they see an opportunity, they're gonna take it.
yeah.
But like rubber band physics and racing game, that's it's stupid and it just adds difficulty to the game. It's not necessary. It's not necessary.
The
to have that
developer
difficulty.
didn't know how to program actual like driving AI, so they're like, let's just put these things in a general location to the player at all times.
Yeah.
Compared to there's some games like it's really humorous to see like you'll have like one person in a race game that's just so terrible. You'll be on lap 3, they'll be on lap 1. They're just like driving backwards.
Yeah.
It's just like there are some games like that and they don't build the rubber band physics in there and it's good.
It can
it's
be punishing, yeah, but that's part of it. You got to learn to not suck.
Yeah.
Honestly,
You have to learn.
In real racing, there's no rubber band physics.
honestly, difficult games are always extremely polarizing. A lot of people, some people, I'll just go back to Dark Souls. That's all I know. But
It's okay.
a lot of people in the comments on YouTube are like, this game is terrible. It cheats at all angles. And then people are like, no, you're terrible, random person. This game's totally fair.
You
And
mind if,
Don't do YouTube.
I
Everybody.
really personally believe that Dark Souls is a very, very well crafted game. But I can see why people get frustrated with it.
Because they keep dying all the time.
You build this character, and the game does not hold your hand at all.
oh yeah.
No.
The only people that help you out are other players.
Can we talk about Dark Souls' predecessor, Demon Souls?
Well, that
in the
had to wait
beginning of the
because we
game.
have exactly 1 minute.
Yeah, yeah. So in the beginning of the game, you have to die. You either die to the first boss, or you make a little bit farther through a cutscene where you die.
God
I
dang
think,
it.
like, yeah, that's something that people don't talk about quite as much.
I think they're
kinda-
just trying to grind the tone of the game
Yeah.
into your head. Like,
Little
Yeah.
bit,
you
yeah.
gotta die, buddy. You
Yeah.
can't not die.
Okay, before we really go, let's just talk about that tick-off moment in video games where you completely beat a boss all by yourself and then your backup arrives as soon as you kill the monster. I'm done.
Yeah.
That's
You
more
mean
of a plot
every
thing.
game
Yeah.
ever.
Every
like
game
Far
ever.
Cry 3 when you clear a base and then it's like, oh, we're here.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
All right. Well, it looks like we're about out
Yep.
of time. So feel free.
Have a
to-
good one, everybody.
Have a good one.
Yep.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Next time.
Don't ever say that.